Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Final Destination Bloodlines. And I'm just going to quickly sum it up. I really enjoyed it. Now, obviously I'm going to get into more detail about the movie later, but it's been a while since I haven't watched Final Destination. I mean, to be fair, there hasn't been a new Final Destination movie since Final Destination 5 back in 2011. But I always enjoy the supernatural horror aspects of the Final Destination films. I do like the blood and gore aspect of it, the whole shock factor it gives. And I could easily say that when it comes to Final Destination Bloodlines, it delivers really, really well. Let's talk about this movie. So, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the Final Destination films. Essentially, when it comes to in terms for Bloodlines, it follows a character called Stephanie, and she has this dream where her grandmother, who is called Iris, is essentially envisages a sort of sky. It's called a sky saucer, like a tall, very skyscraper building. So Iris goes there with her boyfriend. They get engaged, and essentially what happens, a chain reaction happens where death is practically inevitable. And essentially Iris, who essentially spots this scenario from happening, that everyone's going to die, she essentially tries to save everybody from it, but couldn't save her boyfriend slash fiance. So obviously, this is like a premise that's been followed from the Final Destination movies before, but I really feel like this first act, the opening act of this film, like really shocks you immediately. So, like I said, they go into Iris and her boyfriend goes up into this skyscraper. They go up to a very tall building, and essentially her boyfriend proposes on the tower, and essentially the chain reaction that ends up happening is like a coin gets thrown. It stops a fan from literally circulating air. There's also music that's also being played in the sky saucer itself with a band. They also have a glass floor that's sat very high in the building that shatters, and obviously things go crazy and things happen. Like there's like lots of like flames happening, debris breaking, and obviously it's a lot of CGI, but I really felt like that first beginning act just really just hooks you immediately with all the blood, all the gore, all the debris breaking from a high building and people falling off. It was brilliant. But I also felt throughout the whole movie there was always a lot of good moments that delivered. Parts of the movie does take place where Stephanie goes and meets her grandmother, who actually survives. And upon meeting her, she finds out, since the fact she had this dream, that essentially her grandmother informs Stephanie that essentially death will come to her way as well as her family. And essentially she's telling her that she can't escape from it, and essentially everyone's going to die. I feel like a lot of the characters in this film are all very self-aware with their own personalities, I would say. I feel like one of them, called Eric, is probably like the most, probably more self-aware character that has some funny lines and actually does pull up some of the jokes, like some poorly timed jokes, I would say. That kind of betrays a little bit of dark humor. And I think like the moments that kind of comes up in this film, like some of the jokes and the satire, I think is very, very good. Also, like some of the moments I also want to speak is like some of the obviously the blood and gore moments of this movie. I mean, this movie gets very gruesome with some scenes. Some scenes I do like to talk about is essentially one that involves a garbage can scene. So basically one of the garbage bins gets collected into a garbage truck. Someone gets trapped in there, and essentially a character dies from being crushed from it. And you would see like some things like limbs being decapitated, when trying to save certain characters. And there's also like some other ones as well, such as the lawnmower. I think that was a very cool moment. And also, there's also like this sort of magnet machine, essentially, just pulls any sort of magnetic object and yeah, magnetic objects essentially. And essentially, if anyone had like any piercings or anything, it would essentially just cut right open. So there's like lots of very like gruesome scenes in this film, and obviously, like I mentioned, it's all CGI. It's not like it's all real to really kind of portray like this is actually like what real life could be. But I really think they do put the details in it in a very self-aware way that I think is very good. But even throughout the whole movie, I never really felt like bored or tired from these moments. I really felt like the more the moments delivered, it actually felt more entertaining. And really throughout the whole runtime of this movie, it always seemed to have like a good progression of these sort of scenes that happen, all these chain reactions that happen, all these sort of scenarios of these characters avoiding death. And a lot of the characters have their own sort of self-aware personalities as well that really, really help. So I really felt like this movie just never shied away from, you know, being a toned down franchise or trying to like be one of those sort of franchises that's just being pumped out but nothing really comes out of it. Like, it's a movie that really essentially delivers like the Final Destination movies has done, but essentially it's got like its own sort of charm to it, I would say. Now, also there are like some, well, there isn't some, there's only one character that does inspire his role. I mean, William Bloodworth is like a character very known in the Final Destination movies, and Tony Todd does play William Bloodworth still throughout the whole movies. Unfortunately, he has passed away. Rest in peace. And obviously, the characters come across him, who's always kind of like this person that tries to analyze death, essentially. I don't know whether if he's like supposed to portray like a coroner of some kind to try and sort of analyze like how death happens, but then he like informs the characters that Stephanie encounters with that essentially you can't avoid death and you're all going to die. And that was like the last line he gave. I mean, it's obviously pretty known throughout the whole movies. So I really felt like this movie just built up the charm from the previous franchises and essentially really does deliver like probably more gruesome scenes from maybe other Final Destination movies that I remembered. But overall, I really enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines. I haven't got any complaints about it, and practically it's pretty much delivers exactly what you expect from the franchise. And even despite the last movie coming out since 2011, it still never felt old to me. I really had a good time watching this film. Obviously, if you like horror movies, hack and slash, sort of gory films, this movie will not disappoint you. But yeah, that's kind of my take on Final Destination Bloodlines. It's not released yet, but if you have watched it, let me know what you think of the film. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you want to dislike. Thank you for watching. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.